Good evening, Dixie Motor Speedway. Are we having fun? Yeah. I want to thank Melissa Hagar, the queen of comedy. This is awesome that she puts this opportunity out for us. So tonight I want to talk a little about raising children. I had 3 kids. So I had one, and then 3 years later I had another one, and then 6 months later I was pregnant. Big surprise with my 3rd one. Don't recommend that. It's really hard. So I knew that my first one was going to be a little bit of a challenge. She's my strong-willed child. She was like 3 years old, and she'd gotten into trouble. And so we put her in a corner, and then we brought her out. My husband gets down to her nose to nose, and he says, "You know, I think you deserve a spanking for what you did." And this child, with all the confidence a 3-year-old can have, looks at her dad and says, "Oh no, Daddy, it's a prophecy from God that you are not going to spank me." Oh my goodness. Holy cow, a prophecy from God? I lost it. I had to go in the other room. I was laughing so hard. So he comes in the room and he's like, I'm like, "What are you going to do?" And he's like, "It's a prophecy from God. I can't mess with that." So I call the pastor. I'm like, "I don't know if the congregation is getting your messages, but you're really hitting the 3-year-olds, just so you know that that's happening." So I was really fortunate. I was able to work from home when my kids were little, so 2 days a week I got to get dressed up, go talk to big people, and then the rest of the time I got to work from home. So in my living room I kind of cornered off my desk so that they couldn't get into my stuff, and then that way I could work from home and be there with the kids. Well, unfortunately that was back in the day when you had the cord phone. Remember? You had to be tied to wherever that phone was. And so every time the phone would ring, it was like a boxing match. Ding, ding, ding. And they knew they could get into this stuff that I couldn't get after them for because I was attached to the phone. So I'd be on the phone and I'm like, yes, I will get that report out to you. No, that's fine. I can have it to you on Thursday. I'll get it in the mail. So that was always a challenge when I was trying to work from home. So one of the things that we did, we didn't have a college fund for our kids. We had a counseling fund for our children. Because I knew I'd mess them up. I mean, you try really hard, but you still do. And so this way, when we do something particularly wrong, we would donate to the fund. And this one time, my son, he's 10 years old, he says, "Mom, is there anything in our family history that's special that I need to know about?" And this story poured out of me like I had been keeping it a secret forever. And I don't know where it came from, but it just came out. And I said, "Well, it's time you know that we are not your parents, but we're your guardians. And it's our job to keep you safe because you are the great-great-grandson of Lord Drakemore. And our job is to keep you safe till it's time for you to be put on the throne and be the vampire king." So I had convinced this kid that he was a vampire. And I said, "You know, your teeth have those little fangs, right?" "Yeah." "You've been thinking about flying a lot, right?" "Yeah." "You have a really hard time when the moon is full, right?" "Yeah." Well, a full moon is werewolves, but I was going with it. It was working. So my husband was so mad at me. He's like, "Why would you do that to this kid?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. It just happened." So we put money in the counseling fund. So it's, that's what you do. We had a backup plan. So another thing, I took my daughter. We went to Myrtle Beach. It was Biker Week, Harley Week, and 25 years ago we went. Them hogs would come in. There'd be 100 of them in a pack, and the windows would vibrate. Well, 25 years later, and they're trucking them in. They can't handle riding anymore. So I have a friend, and she wanted to go on vacation with me, but decided to text me challenges. So the first challenge, now this is Harley Week. Picture your Harley riders, right? She wanted me to find a picture and get a selfie with someone that had cornrows. So we're walking up and down the boardwalk, and I find this young man and his girlfriend. He's got cornrows, and I'm like, "Excuse me, sir. I'm on this vacation challenge. I'd like to have a picture of you with your cornrows." "All right." So he's turning his head. The girlfriend's looking at me like I'm insane. So I grabbed the girlfriend. I'm like, "Come on, you need to be in the picture too, right?" So he's turning his head. You got to get a good picture. So then the next challenge was you got to be sitting on a bike. Well, you don't just get on a Harley bike because that will get you dead. So I kind of failed at it. And we're sitting in this little airport, and all of a sudden, this giant black man gets off the plane, and he's got on a Harley jacket. And I'm like, excuse me, sir, but can I get a picture of you with your jacket? And he's like, oh, baby girl! He takes his jacket off, puts it on me. It's down to my knees because he's so giant. We're taking pictures, having all kinds of fun. So my daughter says to me, aren't you ever afraid to talk to people? I'm like, seriously, look at me. I'm not a terrorist. I'm not menacing. And besides that, it made his week. He's going to tell everybody he knows that this voluptuous redhead wanted a picture with me. Right? So I do like to mess with people a little bit. You know, people that they say the same thing 100 times a day as part of their job. So when you have to give blood, they ask you these same questions 100 times a day. Do you do street drugs? Do you share needles? Do you have sex for money? Well, yes, I do. And they look at you and I'm like, honey, I've been married for 38 years. Absolutely, I have sex for money. And now with direct deposit, I don't even have to take it out of his wallet. It's great. So you have to have a little fun when you're dealing with some of those things. So I'm Kathy Kriseler, choosing joy and chaos. Have a good night.